Okay. Today, before I start, I just want to do a quick caveat. I've been doing this whole series of our manifesto. If you're part of a traditional community or traditional church, traditional religion, today is going to be a little bit not quite for you. What I want you to do is I want you to kind of hold on to whatever works for you. And I want this service to be a way for you to see the other people in this community. Because for a lot of us, traditional church is kind of like this meadow. It's this beautiful place, beautiful like open space. In the middle is like an amusement park. It's stunning. For many, that's the traditional church. And so for many of us, we came into this because other people were there. For me, my parents were there, so I grew up in it. And over years, you go to this place and it seems good, and everyone around you you look around and it's like it's working and it's beautiful. But for whatever reason, you're about to get on the Ferris wheel, and you look down and you kind of see some paint peeling off the edge of the seat. You're thinking, well, that doesn't seem quite right. You look around to see if anyone else is noticing, and they're all fine. Okay. A little while later, you go onto it and you see something else. You see maybe one of the bolts is a little bit loose. Or one of the things is moving a bit more than it should. And you say, hey, wait a second. Hey, is anyone noticing this? Is anyone concerned about this? And the answer you get is just have faith. It's fine. It's beautiful. And for a time you can. And then something happens to us. I don't know what it did for you. But something happens, you go, wait a second. This doesn't seem right to me. And for the first time, you step away from the group. And you look back and you say, why is it that I'm suddenly seeing different things right now? The group who's part of the meadow is looking at you going, what are you doing? Like, come on, get over here. But there's a side of us that goes, I don't know why, but it's painful when you do this. Pressure, social pressure. And over time, what you realize is, for whatever reason, there's many reasons, you find yourself not being part of the center of the meadow. You find yourself on the edge. This isn't working for you. This isn't working for me. But the edge of that meadow right here is a cliff. And if this represents spirituality and traditional religion, this cliff feels like something completely different. It's like the loss, the losing one's religion. This moment usually has a lot of emotional charge to it. For some, there's anger. For some, there's a sense of betrayal. Because sometimes it's people going, for whatever reason, this meadow doesn't fit. I can't, like what I'm seeing and what you're seeing don't seem to match. Other people are going, no, it fits, but for whatever reason, who you are, the meadow's looking at you going, wait, what are you doing? You can't do it that way. Sexuality, orientation, lifestyle. The meadow is actually the thing that pushes you to the edge. But we all find ourselves here at the edge going, but now what do I do? I can't do that. This is where the group divides. Some people look at this and go, I'm done. And they just jump. I'm throwing it all away. Forget it all. Atheist. I'm just going to be an atheist. Screw this. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't work. The questions I ask, you just tell me to have faith. Every time I have a concern, you just say whatever. You're not paying attention. So screw it. I'm done. For many, it's a different journey. I don't want to throw it all away, but I can't do that. And so we find ourselves climbing over the edge of this cliff, trying to hold on to something, trying desperately to figure out, well, if I just let go of a little bit here, can I still do this? And if you've ever been a rock climber, you know that hanging on a cliff when you don't know where you're going, your hands are shaking, your legs are shaking, your brain's freaking out going, we're going to fall, we're going to fall, we're going to fall. For many of us, this either describes our spiritual journey or, as Joe said, the spiritual journey of his family before him. He was raised by a family that jumped. What do you do? What do you do if this is your journey? If you're going, but this doesn't work for me. And I know, there's times when you're like, well, but maybe if I just change myself, if I just do this thing, or if I just suppress this part of me, maybe I can get back to the meadow. Maybe I can find spirituality again. But it doesn't work. For many, this moment is one of the most defining moments in our spiritual journeys. Now here's the thing. Why is it that for this group of people, it works? And yet for us over here, why doesn't it? Shouldn't it work for all of us? Shouldn't it be the same for all of us? People come to me often and say, but Vince, isn't there one right way to do this? Right? If we could just figure out the right way, then we would know if we're right or if we're wrong, and we could figure out what do I do here? There's a story from Jesus. There's a person called a rich young ruler. Rich young ruler. It's like the heading of the story tells you where the story is going. Like, there's no other value of this person other than he's loaded. And he comes to Jesus and he says, essentially, what's my next step in my spiritual journey? What do I do? Jesus says, what have you done so far? He's like, everything. Okay. Give up every dollar you have to the poor. It's a little stiff. But that's not why I'm telling you the story. Because there's another story of a guy named Zacchaeus. His only descriptor is he's a tax collector, which means he's Jewish, or he's from the group of people in the Bible. It's really tricky. I know I should just say Jewish, but it's not. It's much trickier than that. He's from the people of the Bible against the Romans. He's working for the Romans to screw over his own people. So he's rich based on corruption. That's what that term means. And he goes to Jesus and he says, hey, Jesus, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to give half my wealth away. And Jesus says, perfect. Wait a second. How come does he only have to give half and the rich young ruler has to give it all? Well, which one is it? There's another one, a Roman centurion. So essentially it means the guy who's got power. He's got a whole household, so he's got money. He has an interaction with Jesus. Guess what's not even on the topic? Money. So which one is it? If the Meadow is like, this is the one, is it give away all your money, give away half your money, give away none of your money? What did Joe say in his song? Wouldn't it be nice if someone just came down and gave it to us straight, like, this is what you have to do. We're ignoring all your money. We're only going to give halfway our money. The rest of you, like. That's why we at Friends Church say this. We value each person's unique spiritual journey. Because like Jesus, in the stories of our tradition, how he interacts with different people is unique to that individual in that place, in that time. The Meadow says there's one way to do it. Our tradition seems more nuanced than that. The question maybe then isn't, is this, how much money should you give away? What's the rule? The question maybe becomes, what thing do we each need in our own unique spiritual journey to take the next step? Now, this is where people will say to me, but Vince, you're making no sense here. This whole unique spiritual journey, that's garbage. There is one way. That's the whole point of religion. There is one way. We are certain. We understand it all. We all believe the same thing. There's a guy named Fowler, another guy's named Scott Peck, who took Fowler's work and simplified it. They studied religious groups. And what they found was there's different kind of religious groups. They said, there's this group that, if you look at our story, the Meadow. Religious groups that are built in that Meadow format believe that everyone believes the same thing. We all do the same thing. It's incredibly unifying. It's lovely because you look to your neighbor, you're like, what do you believe? Same as you. How about you? Same as you. Anyone else have any questions? Nope, we're all good. Yep, perfect, same. It's unified. There's a sense of belonging. You can do it with church. You can do it with religion or with militaries. You can do it with any time you make a group, as long as you have this way of thinking that everybody is the same and we all believe the same. Please do not hear me, as I say this, sound like I'm undermining this group of people. My mother was part of the Meadow. She believed to the depths of her soul. She spent 4.5 years of dying of cancer, a brutal cancer, where all your bones break, completely in peace because of her belief in the Meadow. I wish I fit in the Meadow some days. What it can do for us is incredible. For those in the Meadow and those who are connected to people in the Meadow, please, please do not look down on the Meadow. For the people who fit, it is incredible. But for whatever reason, and I have not figured this out, some of us just don't fit. Fowler actually said, you know what? There's a whole group of people who don't fit. People who climb down on the ledge, on the cliff face, trying to hang on to their spirituality. Some of them jumped, which is another form of spirituality. He said there's this kind of Meadow spirituality, but there's another beautiful thing that some of us need to do. That's the deconstruction of the Meadow. If you got this gift, you probably should ask for a receipt to take it back because it's not an easy journey. The Meadow is much easier. I don't know why we need it. I don't know why some people don't. My mom Meadow was perfect. Her identical twin sister, the person most genetically same to her, took a header off the cliff when she was like 10. I don't know why. But Fowler says, and Peck says, the journey down the cliff, for those who need it, is the next step in your spiritual journey. It is profoundly healthy for those of us who need to do it. Now, the marketing goes to the Meadow because they're saying, no, we have it all figured out. And so if you step away from the Meadow and start down this cliff, or if you jump, your mind's thinking, I've lost my faith. I'm doing this wrong. What Peck says, this is a profoundly spiritual phase for you. Do not think of it as lost faith, backsliding, rejection. Think of it as this beautiful time where you start to figure out, what is my unique spiritual journey? What do I need and don't need? Climbing down the cliff just basically says, I'm going to hold it all and then take a thing, go like, hey, hell. Okay, is that one working for me? Let's put that one over there. Right? Then you go to the next one. That's climbing down the cliff. If you jump off the cliff, go to atheism, you just throw it all out. And then at some point you go, well, maybe I want some of that back. And so you start looking in the box. You're like, oh, actually that one could work. It's the same profoundly spiritual journey. Please never feel like this is somehow bad or wrong or anti-spiritual. Peck says for those of us who need to do this journey, this is the most spiritual thing we could possibly do. But there's a problem. If you grew up in the Meadow, regardless if you jumped off the cliff here or if you're climbing down the edge of the cliff, chances are you have a little piece of the Meadow still in your mind. Do you guys remember we talked about parts a couple of series ago? It's this way of looking at our minds that says we have these kind of different voices in our minds that deal with us in different ways. Chances are you have a Meadow part. I didn't realize this. I had one. I didn't realize it because I grew up in the Meadow. I climbed down the cliff face, and I could feel these moments where it was like, you're going to go to hell for this. Oh, you can't do that. I had these big reactions. Then I read this book, Altogether You. Can you throw it up for me so I can remember how to say her last name? Jenna, however you say that last name. Reimersma? Yeah. She was analyzing internal family system, this way of talking about parts. And she said, many of us have what's called a spiritualizer part. A part inside of us whose complete job is to get us back to the Meadow. To get us to that sense of belonging and unity that we once had. Now, if you didn't grow up in the church, you are so lucky some days. Because you don't have that part in your mind that's constantly going like, what are you doing? That's wrong. You can't say that. Has anyone had a moment where I said something like, your conception of God, and you have a little voice in your head that's like, why is he saying that? You can't say that. It's good. Chances are that's your spiritualizer. The number of places your spiritualizer will be like, huh! Now remember, we learned from parts, or that whole metaphor, how do we deal with these parts? What you don't do is say, shut up! Just makes it louder. Because remember, its only concern is to get you back to the Meadow. To get you back to a sense of belonging to. Of having it all figured out. Of certainty. So when you hear that voice, just say, oh, hey, spiritualizer, how's it going? Appreciate your work, thank you. Trying to keep me on straight and narrow. But I'm okay. Can you just give me a little bit of space here? Because I need to figure out what's working for me. Am I the rich young ruler who has to give it all away? Or am I the tax collector who only gives half? Am I the Roman centurion who gives away nothing? See how it works? I'd like you guys to put up your hand because I'd love to know how many of you have a spiritualizer part, but don't do it. I have a loud enough one for all y'all. I can tell whenever I say, the character God in this story, or I have these little things where I'll say, the Bible doesn't talk about Satan, and I see your face go like this. I'm like, oh, hey, spiritualizer, how's it going over there? Remember, the goal in parts is to not let that part take over you. My spiritualizer lives kind of up here. I can always feel like it feels like it's pushing on my eye. It's like, oh, there it is. I know what you're trying to do for me. Thank you. But I'm going to go a different way. Climbing down this cliff has been the most spiritual thing I could possibly do. Now, over time, when we first started to do this work, we're climbing down the cliff, we had no freaking clue what was down there. Right? Am I going to lose it all? I had one friend who's like, I started up with a big bucket of spiritual stuff. I just kept doing one of these to it. Now I look in my bucket and it's empty. What the hell do I do now? Over time, what we found is down on that cliff, there's a ledge. We got to it. I remember first time I stood on it, I was like, oh, wait. This feels kind of nice. I remember people climbing down the cliff. They were struggling, and I was like, hey, there's a ledge down here. And they're like, screw you, closet. The people at the top of the cliff were so angry at us. We're like, we're down here having a party. And they're like, screw you, you're doing it wrong. Spiritualizer fired up. But you see, on this ledge, we found a lot of us were standing on it. Was it one-size-fits-all spirituality? No. We held some stories in common. Remember, we started this series by asking ourselves this question: what is wrong in this world? What are things that shouldn't have happened? I started off by saying school shootings. They just disturb me at the deepest level, like that level of malevolence in this world. And wouldn't you know it, 3 days later, I opened the news and Tumbler Ridge. People wrote car accidents, cancer, big exclamation to cancer, racism, serial murders, abuse of power, food insecurities, homelessness, injustice, rape, climate change. If you followed the Epstein files, it's disturbing. And we asked ourselves, if our spirituality was focused on taking water, that would somehow touch these horrible things in our world, make the world a little bit better. I can't solve them in one shot. I wish I could. But all of us doing a little thing time and time again, the world starts to change. And on the ledge we said, what if that's the story we hold to? That we are going to be agents. Our spirituality is going to inspire us to do these things in the world, not by destroying ourselves, honoring ourselves, the people around us, building incredible relationships that fuel us to be able to take water, to make this stuff less powerful in this world. That's the story we had on the ledge. And then on the ledge we realized, wait, religion itself isn't this monolithic thing for us like it is in the Meadow. It's actually stories. Beautiful stories, profound stories. But stories. When you listen to a story, you don't ask yourself, is this story true in the sense that, is it factually true? Is it that you're missing the point? If you read Aesop's fables, you're like, was there actually a tortoise? Was there actually like a hare race? And who set that up? And how did they get, them to pay their entry fees? You're not thinking that, are you? You're thinking, Is it better to go slow or fast? And so what we realize is we engaged in our Christian tradition through the lens of stories. That's why I say conception of God. It's the story you're holding about God, because there's stories that are different all the way through our tradition. Sometimes the story of God is God will destroy you. Sometimes the story of God is jealous. Sometimes the story is God is love. And people say, well, no, we can unify them all. And I'm like, okay, tricky. But I understand in the Meadow, that's the important part. For us, we hold these as stories. And then you ask yourself the question, what stories do I need to change myself to become a water carrier? What's the unique set of stories that I need to inspire me? That's this message. In the Meadow, it's one size fits all. And if you fit that, like my mom, awesome. You have a beautiful set path. If you're like me, though, and that didn't fit you, however you came down, some people climbed down, some people jumped off. There's a bunch of you. Jumped off, lived in atheism for a while, and was like, wait a second, but I want something more. I miss it. I can't do the Meadow. There's a reason I jumped. As we were standing on the ledge, we had all these people climbing up to us, and they're like, hey, how's it going? We're like, where'd you come from? Well, I threw away. Been an atheist for a couple of years. But I feel like I want something more, capital M, more. Some of you lucky buggers just walked right onto the ledge because you had no baggage. Screw you guys. And you're not having a spiritual edge you have to fight all the time. Friend Church exists on that ledge. We each will find our unique spiritual journeys, which stories move us, and which stories we're just going to kind of let go. The story of hell being an afterlife that people, whatever happens, whatever the rule you grew up with, if you do that thing, you're going to go to hell and burn for all eternity, not super helpful to me. The story about me making hell in my life, geez. I have moments where I'm sitting with my wife and I'm about to make hell and I'm like, ow, here we are, right here, Vince, right here. Take a breath, calm it down, regulate yourself. Now be honest, but not with that edge. Is there a hell? I've made hell more than once. Is there an afterlife hell? That story doesn't resonate with me. And I know many people who are going, no, that fear helps me to stay motivated. I'm going, great. That's the beauty of spirituality on the ledge. How did you get to the ledge? Were you one of the lucky buggers who just walked right in, no baggage? Of course, this is easy. Why do you guys keep talking about this stuff? So easy. Are you like me? Did you grow up in the Meadow? And for whatever reason, you know what for me it was? I was doing okay. Let's say it was this. I was on the edge of the cliff with my head over the edge going like, let me back in. I went to seminary to study the Bible. And I was like, okay, this is going to get me back, right? Seminary, come on, people. You get like a free pass into the Meadow for the seminary, all right? Until I started studying the Bible. And time again, my prof would say, I know that this is what the Greek says, but our tradition says this, so that's how we translate it. And I was like, but I came here to study the Bible. You're telling me the tradition trumps Bible? And they said, no, it's the Bible. And I'm like, yeah, but you keep saying tradition trumps Bible. Meadow trumps Bible. And I remember the day where it came to a head. And I just remember sitting there going, screw this. I'm picking the Bible. I'm going to let it take me anywhere it wants to take me. I'm going to study every freaking little story in there and let it inspire me. And I don't care if parts don't fit other parts. I'm not going to say, no. I have to have it unified. I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to take the story as it is and let it sink into me. And I kind of just did one of these. That didn't help my marks in school, by the way. When you're writing a paper to your prof and he's the choir, he's the one who agrees with you, much easier than every time coming in like with your middle finger up going, screw you guys. I was trying to figure that out. If you have been on this cliff, if you've felt yourself pushed out of the meadow and have done this work, if you've jumped off and you've ever thought to yourself, I'm doing this wrong, I'm losing my faith, please hear me say, that is not the case. It could be very well that this is this next step that your journey needs to take. The number of people in our tradition that have done this work because they needed to. If you're on the cliff face right now and life is tough, man, I feel for you. I know that journey. If you're there, I want you to hear our voices down on the ledge going, come on down. Just 2 more feet and you'll make it. But I also understand that spiritualizing your mind, going, you can't do this. You're wrong. This is not the way it is. This is not going to work. You're going to go to hell for this. I understand that. Ask it for a little bit of space. And if you jumped off this thing, or if your family member jumped off this thing, if you were raised as atheism and you're now coming back up going, okay, but I know I threw it all away, but am I still, do I still get to be a part of this? Hell yes. The water's fine on the ledge. But no, we've bought into a story. Again, this isn't one size fits all. It's just a story. But the story we've bought into is this one. We will be a community that takes water to the world. If you're not healthy and you're trying to figure out, I don't have anything to give, don't worry, we'll work on that. If your relationships are a bit rough, don't worry, the next 2 series from now, we're going to start working on relationship stuff. I'm rereading Gottman's work, and I'm like, oh man, how have I forgotten some of this stuff? So good to create healthy relationships that fuel us to take water. If you're looking for me to sit up here and say, I have the right answer, you're going to be waiting a while. What I will do is I will commit to you every week, I will bring the best stories I can bring and let you choose what unique parts do you need to be inspired. Because we believe every person is on their own unique spiritual journey. And when we honor that, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. To those of us, oh, look, check this out. I got a mug. To those of us who don't fit in the meadow, living on the ledge, have a great week. As you go through this week, be mindful of when the spiritualizer talks. Be mindful of what parts you need to do and don't need to do so that you can find your own unique spiritual journey. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you think I mistranslated the Bible, I love those comments, send me an email, Vince@FriendChurch. Have a great week, everyone. Take care.